Hey, welcome back. Let's hear it for our brave volunteers. Yeah. This is Harold and this is Donna, and they have a couple girls, but we're going to talk today about Ellen, who's 14. And what we want to do here is we're really going to model the comfort circle. I'm going to put Harold in the listener role, and I'm going to help him just keep on listening to Donna until he really understands and has a clearer picture of what is going on inside her. So often as parents, we react to each other. When we do something that, or our spouse does something we don't like with one of our kids, we just react to that instead of really taking the time to stop and listen and try and enter into the heart of that other person. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're going to try and model that for you. And I'm going to be up here and I'm going to help you through this, so don't worry, you're in safe hands. Okay, so Harold, I'm going to feed you the first question, and the question that we came up with was, okay, so what do you find difficult about Ellen? Like, what's the hardest thing in your interactions with her? What bugs you the most about Ellen? You're asking her.
Follow through with tasks that she's been given and the disrespect that
okay, that's what I think she thinks, but it's like, right now I just want you to ask Donna, even if you're just repeating after me, Donna, what bugs you the most about Ellen?
What bugs you most about Ellen?
When I tell her to do something and I feel like she ignores me, and doesn't do what I say, I feel disrespected.
Okay, so now your job is to find out more, and one thing you can always ask about is feelings. So ask her, how does it feel when she disrespects you and ignores you?
So what feelings do you have when she disrespects you and when she ignores the things you've asked her to do?
And take your time.
I feel very angry, furious. I feel small, very ignored and looked over, and like I don't matter.
Okay, so try and say back what she said, even though she just said it, because when you can say back what she said, she feels like, okay, he really heard me. And if you can't do it, it's okay, because I couldn't do it at first as an avoider, so I'll help you out.
So when Ellen ignores you, it really makes you angry. It makes you feel ignored. It makes you feel small.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to guess you see the anger. So that one doesn't surprise you. Is that correct?
Correct.
So out of that list of feelings, which one surprises you the most?
Probably the small.
Okay, so always ask about the thing that you know the least about. So ask her, tell me more about that feeling of being small, what that is like.
What is it like to feel small when she ignores you?
I'm not sure how to describe it.
Just do your best. There's no right answer.
Feels invisible, and that makes me angry.
Okay, so say back what you heard.
So you feel invisible, and that creates anger inside of you. And
okay, do you remember we said earlier that there's always a feeling that precedes anger? Anger is the feeling that you often see in your kids or your spouse or something, but there's something that goes before that sometimes you might not even know is there until you slow down and ask about it. Okay, so ask her if this is a familiar feeling from childhood.
Is this a feeling that is familiar to you from your childhood?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, ask her if she can share a memory that would illustrate that's safe enough to share here.
Is there a memory that you have that you would like to share?
I feel I guess it goes back to the old memory of laying on my bed and wanting someone to hear me, wanting somebody to listen, and nobody comes in and listens. And just feeling small and ignored, and just the whole childhood of feeling passed over and not listened to. One particular moment when I remember going into anger and actually getting angry and showing it was when trying to fix the fight between my dad and my brother, and they didn't listen to me, and they told me to basically butt out, and that made me so mad because I couldn't fix it, and so I kicked a hole in the door.
Wow. Okay, so now just do your best to kind of say back what you heard. You don't have to say all of it, but you just want her to know you're tracking with her.
So as a child, you felt ignored, and you laid on your bed, and you wanted somebody to connect with you, and wanted somebody to empathize with you and find out what was going on inside of you, and you don't feel like that happened.
Yeah. I remember praying, asking God to send somebody in. And it never happened.
Okay, now that could be a whole nother conversation about what that did to her on a spiritual level. Because that's a little girl praying and feeling like God didn't hear me. So find out when she's with your daughter and she feels small, how old is that small feeling like? Put an age to it. Ask her what age it might be.
So when you feel small with Ellen and she's ignoring you, how old do you feel?
7.
See, she knows exactly. 7. Okay, so now this is what our kids do to us, and you're not the only one. My kids did it to me. Your kids do it to you out there. They reduce us in age back to a child place. I remember my son turning, once he got into teenage years, and he started to have a deeper voice, and he started to be more pushy, and sometimes he would get mad, and I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel 6. This feels like an angry dad standing in front of me instead of a 15-year-old kid. So that was hard. So I get that can be really hard to feel like you're 7 instead of the mom who's whatever age you are. Okay, so ask her if she feels like those wounds have ever been comforted.
Do you feel like those wounds have ever been comforted, ever resolved?
I think they've been tried, but I don't think I've been able to get the comfort completely on the inside.
Okay, so what we talk about in our book is that this is one of the exact places she needs a holding time. And as an avoider, to give that to you is going to be a big old step for him. But if you can learn to hold her and let her be 7 again and talk to her like, I see that little girl. I know nobody saw you when you were 7, but I see you now. And it's okay to tell me everything about how that felt and how that affected you. So ask her how she would feel if you were to do that.
How would you feel if I were to hold you?
I would love that. Sometimes all I want, especially in the mornings when the anxiety is high, is just to crawl in your lap. But it's usually not there.
Okay, now we've had many people saying, you might be thinking this, so I'm just going to say out loud what you're probably thinking. Well, I'm not her dad, or I'm not her mom, but it's like I think some of the deepest moments of bonding happened with Mylan and I when he let me talk about those childhood pains, and he comforted me as a parent never had. It was like, oh my gosh, the bond grew so much deeper between us. Because when she gets angry at Ellen, do you see all the pool of pain under it that's driving that? It's a big old pool of pain, and all you see is the anger up here. So comfort might make a big difference, and what comfort can do is it brings it out into the open, and it brings a piece of healing over time. Take more than one holding, but it brings little pieces of healing into your life so that you can begin to feel like that place is really healed.
It feels like there's a wall, and I have trouble asking for it.
Excellent insight. Okay, so she grew up in a home where she could never get anyone to pay any attention to her. And if you did try and intervene in some way, what was the response with your brother and your dad?
I got pushed aside.
You got pushed aside. So it's like, how easy is it for her at this point to ask when she's been brushed aside and not seen? How courageous it is for her to say, I just really need a hug right now. That take a lot of courage? You're breaking the childhood rule, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to say to him, okay, my anxiety's probably a 9 or a 10. And we check in on 1 to 10 scales all the time. What are you feeling on a 1 to 10 scale? Because 10 means, whoa, you're in trouble. And 1 means, well, it's there, but it's not unmanageable. So what if she said to you, I just need a hug. I just feel like my anxiety's high. How would that be for you?
Be okay.
Would you rather have that than anger?
Yes.
Okay, so that could be a motivation for you, because if you're able to begin to comfort her there, what's going to happen is she's going to get less angry and reactive. But it's like, I have a feeling that Ellen is, does she kind of push for your attention?
Oh yeah, she's a bottomless pit.
She's a bottomless pit.
I feel like so exhausted with her.
Okay, so just repeat what you heard that right there, because there's another little piece of information. So
Ellen really takes a lot of energy out of you.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm wrong if I do, and I'm wrong if I don't with her.
Okay, so this is what your conversation you can have with a couple that you certainly, I'm not ever saying do this with your kid, but ask her, what would she want to say to Ellen if there was just no holes barred and she could just say whatever it really is that she's feeling?
What would you like to tell Ellen?
When she's pushing at you.
When she's pushing at you.
I want her to give me space and to come at me gently. I want to be the one to approach her. I'd like some more control in this relationship, but I feel like I'm so controlled by her. And when she comes at me, it just makes me want to throw up. It's so controlling.
Okay, so say back what you heard.
So when she comes at you, demanding your attention, you feel out of control.
Yeah.
And almost makes you physically ill.
Yeah. And I don't want to feel that way about my child.
Oh, I understand. I totally understand. So ask her if anyone came at her like that when she was a child and made her feel like, I want to get out of here.
Did anybody demand your attention and come at you that way as a child?
I can't remember as a child, but I know I was a child in boyfriend relationships, and I was extremely controlled. And I remember that same feeling there, but I don't know as a child.
Have you been around her family?
Yes.
Okay, so what would you observe in terms of the possibility of her being controlled when she was little?
Her mother controlled her thoughts and...
Okay, so then give her, this is a great place, because sometimes we're not objective about our own family. It's hard for us to see sometimes because it's normal to us. It's what we lived with. So at times like this, you can just give her your perspective. Well, what I see in your family when we're around them is, What do you see? Tell her and speak up a
Right.
little because it's hard to hear you.
When I'm around your parents, I do see your mother as very controlling. I think your father has a tendency that way, but has grown.
That's true. I guess I hadn't thought of connected it to that physical feeling. I guess I never could tell my mom no.
Wow.
It was never allowed.
Wow. So now you have another person that's controlling you and coming at her, and everything in her wants to say, go away, stop, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
So can you see how Ellen is sort of a stand-in for your mom without meaning to be and you meaning to react that way?
And that.
Okay, that's a really important piece because what I hear, Donna, is you sort of have two areas that are really getting you tripped up with this kid. One is what we're talking about here. You had a mom that was sort of in your face and controlling and, going to make you do what she wanted you to do.
Yeah, I couldn't even do my hair the way I wanted to.
Okay, so a lot of control.
Yeah.
And you went along with that?
Oh yeah, I was the pleaser
Oh,
child
okay,
all
so-
the way.
So you just went along with mom and never said no and never, she was in your space all the time. No, your hair isn't right. No, I'm going to fix it like this.
Yeah, I became a nurse because I thought she wanted me to.
Okay, so that's a lot of control.
Yeah.
Okay, and now, can you see all the pain right there even?
I don't like being a nurse.
Oh. See, it's like there wasn't enough room for you to be you, was there, Donna? Yeah, it's like sometimes we become things that like our parents wanted us to be, and it's like it's not even a fit because they didn't even really know us. Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother
I
conversation.
thought she wanted me to. I thought I was pleasing her.
Well, I'm sure to some extent you were.
Harold, that's a good time to touch your wife right there.
Okay, here's a little rule of thumb. When you see tears, just touch her and say what you see. Just literally say what you're observing. Wow, that, I can tell when you talk about that, that really hurts. So touch.
I can see when you talk about that really is painful for you. It hurts.
Okay, so when he does that, does that trigger like now you're in my space, or does that feel good?
I like that.
Okay, see? If it's really meeting a need for her, then it's okay to come close. But your mom wasn't meeting your need, she was controlling you.
Yeah.
So for some reason she felt comfortable.
When I want to be held, I just don't want to be quizzed about my feelings all the time.
Okay, now she's just bringing up a great point. Did you hear that? She says, I want to be held, but I don't want to be quizzed about my feelings.
Because I mean, asking questions. Sometimes when I'm anxious, I may tell him, but they don't want me to tell him why all the time. I have no clue why. I just need to let the anxiety go down. Because when I feel like I'm shot out with both barrels, and it makes me want to just shut down, and I get angry even more.
Okay, so
See, on the other hand, she asked me to talk and ask her how she's feeling, but then when I do, she feels quizzed.
okay, so ask her, what did questions mean in her family growing up?
What did questioning mean in your family?
It meant you were debating. You got into an argument or debating. I don't know.
How do questions make you feel?
I feel like I have to have the right answer. Like when my dad would talk to me, if I didn't have the right answer and back it up with all the biblical, then he would shoot it down. And so if I don't have the right answer, I feel stressed. I don't know the answer to the question, so it's like, just shut up and let me relax.
Okay, so just say back what you heard.
So
See, you're really talking to your dad right there, but go ahead.
So when I question you about your feelings, do you feel like if you don't give me the right answer that you're somehow invalidated?
Yeah.
Okay, so he is in a double bind because he wants to connect, but then questions have a meaning for you that's negative.
Yeah.
Here's a question that might not be negative. When you're a little girl, Donna, you look really sad today and you've kind of been in your room a lot. I wonder what's going on inside and what you feel. I think something's going on in this family that's kind of got you upset.
That's an awesome question.
That's a nice question. It's like, I care about you, I want to know you. Donna, why'd you pick that pink sweater? That doesn't go at all with what you're wearing today. Let's go back to your closet and find a sweater that matches better.
That's a little stressful.
Who do I sound like?
My mom.
Okay. So is that a question that wants to know or cares about you? No, it's a question that you did it wrong. So for you, questions themselves are like, I'm on guard now.
Yeah.
Someone's going to control me or I got to get it right. So you can see how our background, and how many of you out there don't like questions? Raise your hand. See, you're not the only one. How many of you had parents that the questions were always demanding or you're in trouble or, okay. So now questions are like you're on guard. So you have to relearn in your marriage that questions can be, I really care and want to know. I bet there's times where she doesn't know why, but if you can say, what else is going on this list besides anxious? And what things do you think are happening in your day that gave you those feelings? I bet you could get to some of her anxiety.
Ellen does the same thing. We ask her questions and she just blows up because she doesn't know the answer. But we pester her for them. So we're doing the same thing.
Okay, give her a feeling word list.
Okay.
And say, just, Ellen, I'd like to know on this list, what feelings do you have? And then what do you think those feelings are linked to? And if you don't know, it's okay. You can, but let's just see if we can figure it out. And if we can't, maybe you can think about it and maybe something will come together for you.
Okay.
So can you see how, and we could reverse this, and he's triggered in other ways by Ellen. Believe me, we are all triggered, but it's like a lot of times we have one kid that really triggers us, and it's usually there's some person in the past that is standing in, and it's very familiar to us, the feelings that kid gives us. The behavior may be different, but the feelings that we get from this kid are the same as the feelings we got when we were a kid. So then we overreact or we underreact. We get loud or we pull away because we don't want those feelings. Does that make sense? Would you add anything?
Hand Harold the feeling word list and ask. And just ask him, when I become angry or highly anxious, what do you feel inside?
When I become angry or highly anxious, what do you feel inside?
Just take your time.
Probably confused here in the sense of confused how to correct the situation, how to diffuse it.
Ask him to pick 2 more words.
Say confused.
Confused anymore?
Always try and go for 3 feelings because it just gives you a bigger window of understanding.
Is there any more feelings?
There may not be, but if there is,
Well, I don't see it here, but I would guess overwhelmed again because,
it's a great word.
again,
We should put that on there. That's a good word.
So tell him what you just heard.
When my anger overwhelms you and confuses you, then
yes.
Ask him if you ever felt like that in the past.
have you ever felt like that in the past?
I think so.
Can you tell me about it?
You can just do one sentence, I know. You're getting the bonus package, but I know you don't want the bonus package.
Yeah, you didn't tell me this was going
I
to
know,
happen.
no, just say one sentence and then we'll stop.
Um, I hate conflict. I'll do anything to avoid conflict. And so I remember being very, very overwhelmed when my parents would fight, bicker. First they called it a discussion.
A discussion, yeah.
But yeah, I think I hate conflict.
Okay, so can you see why it scares him? And he gets overwhelmed. It's like, what's wrong? Wow, how do I fix it? What do I do?
Yeah.
And then you're like, that's not helpful for you.
Right.
So it's like, but being able to understand each other's childhood pain helps you understand where you're reacting to your kids and where you're reacting to each other in a way that is blocking your progress. And it's this is why we say you should have a PhD in each other's childhoods. And it's not enough to know the facts. You need to know the feelings linked to the facts. Because I have a feeling if you were at home with Harold and you went further with this, you would see a lot more emotion because it was a painful place for him growing up.
Yeah.
And if you see that pain, you'll be more motivated to kind of try and calm your anger down. And if you can comfort her in those areas of pain, you both have uncomforted wounds. Did anyone ever comfort you about your parents fighting or come in and ask how you were doing or how it was affecting you? Or
No.
Okay. So see, those are uncomforted wounds in you. And then your mom's control and see, she cares.
She knows.
Your mom's control and your, your dad's debating, and those are uncomforted wounds for you.
Yeah.
And as you comfort those wounds, your reactivity towards each other and your kids will start to die down. You know, I was, for years, if my kids got very emotional, I was like, whoa, I want this to stop. Now I'm okay if they're emotional because I went back and visited those places in my own life. So, all right, I think they did a great job. What do you think? You're done. Thank you. Good job.
You did a good job.
Good job.
Thank you. Good job, Harold.
Thanks.
Okay, you want to sit here for a second and
Sure.
process that? Okay. Reactions? Thoughts? You're all spellbound?
Yeah, thank you. She said for being willing to share that in front of all of them.
Okay,
And
just so
that's-
they will
that's
feel
good.
comforted, how many of you relate to some way to their story? Raise your hand. Now you guys turn around and look.
Look at all the people that are relating to you guys.
So you are not alone in your marriage problems. It's like we all have problems and they're more similar than we think they are. So
And they're-
let's just say that you're more the vacillator, that's maybe the primary, even though you were a pleaser as a child, at some point you got angry. So now that anger is more alive in you, and it kind of flashes over the more vulnerable feelings. So, and you're probably an avoider, maybe a little bit of pleaser because you want to make it fix it. Okay, so those dynamics, everyone who's got a vacillator-pleaser relationship has got similar dynamic to you. So, any other comments? Okay, how about when we're not here? Good question.
That's why I hire Kay out for weeks at a time. and she ships me off to people. No, we don't do.
Okay,
we don't do
there's
that. 911.
several. The first thing we say is don't pick your current issues to start learning this circle. This is a comfort circle we went through, and we could have gone a little further, but we just don't have the time today. And asking more about what do they each need from each other when they get in these places. But the comfort circle is where you are in an extended listening position with your spouse. And we say start with childhood memories because that's not the thing that you're currently fighting about. So start with, can you just tell me about, and in our book, How We Love, our first book, the first 3 chapters have loads of questions. If you have trouble coming up with questions, just use the book. And sit and listen to your spouse and ask what their memories are, ask how that made them feel, ask them if they ever feel that way today, and you will learn amazing things. And it's a great way to start because it's less conflictual than if you're trying to solve a current problem. And you'll build your skill to where you can. We've had some groups get together as couples and just practice by one person being willing to sit in the middle and talk through an issue, and the group coaches them. Because it's really easy to see when someone stops listening when you're sitting on the outside of the circle. But when you're in the middle of it, it's a little harder to notice.
And that's the beauty of the parent toolbox at the end of your syllabus and at the end of the book. The comfort circle is a roadmap, and you follow it. And the speaker, listener each have roles. There's instruction sheets how to use those, and there's a feeling word list, and it prompts you to go around. It's literally connecting by the numbers. And there are 4 biblically mandated instructions of those 4 parts of the comfort circle. To be self-aware is God's heart. He's aware of who he is. And Psalm 139 says, search my heart, show me the anxious ways, and show me the ways that need to be, that are anxious, and lead me in the everlasting way. And then the second point is speaking the truth in love. And the Bible says we are supposed to speak the truth, each one of you with his neighbor. The third is to listen. And what Harold did is he listened. And a lot of us don't listen well. Yet the Bible says be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And we usually don't do that well. And then to learn to validate, and then to ask, what does the person need? And I think probably, one of your biggest questions, Donna, would be, or one of your biggest needs would be to come to me gently. You see, just come. And I think, Harold could learn to do that. And what you need, you said, I'm anxious. I just need to be settled down. So it's going to be a gentle approach to you to say, come here, let me give you a hug. Just take some breaths and just let me hold you for a moment. And it may be, I had a couple the other day, they were both sort of agitated, and it wasn't about each other, and I just had them hold each other. That's what I call an easy counseling session. I let them do all the work. And they just held each other. And, at the end of that 45 minutes, they were different people just because somebody held them.
Yeah, you can start
better.
holdings with no talking. If that feels, it's like processing sounds too big of a jump, just start doing the holdings without the talking.
Now we're going to demonstrate a holding at the end of this. We're going to show you what we mean by that. I know that wasn't planned, and I just announced that, but I know you can.
It's fine with me.
You're flexible and spontaneous, and you can do that. Okay, she is. Okay, so this is the end then of session number 8.